Let's continue 6.9 class. Kita teruskan 6.9 Okay, so this is activity untuk menyediakan garam terlarutkan, soluble salt which is sap salt, garam nak. So again, kalau garam bukan nak, for insoluble salt is easier because kita boleh pakai bahan tindak balas, another reactant which is insoluble, yang tak larut dalam air. Okay, which is logam oxida, logam carbonate, metal oxide, metal carbonate, or the reactive metal yang tak larut lah, which is insoluble. Okay, we can use that. Kita boleh pakai. Right? Okay. So now the question is, yeah, so kalau metal oxide, metal carbonate, you have to make sure that is insoluble. That's why kita tak boleh guna natrium, kalium. Okay, sodium and potassium oxide cannot. Tak boleh. Sebab, why? Because it is soluble. Ammonium oxide pun tak boleh. Cannot. Cannot. Okay? Alright. SPA salt kalau nak react dia akan produce air. Yes. So dia bercampur kalau tak kita guna. Solution dia bercampur. Yes. Dia bukan menghasilkan air. Dia menghasilkan natrium hydroxide. It forms sodium hydroxide ataupun kalium hydroxide or potassium hydroxide. Kalau oksida, logam, kalium atau natrium, sodium or potassium oxide, they will produce the hydroxide. The hydroxide will mix with the salt. Hydroxida akan bercampur dengan garam, jadi kita tak boleh asingkan dia. Dengan senang lah. Yes, that's right. That's right. Okay, any other question class sebelum kita teruskan? Come on. No. Acid plus metal is soluble. Soluble. All plumbum is insoluble except for... Yeah, that's right. Except for nitrate. Correct. Very good. Oh, no. The others... Okay, let's see. Sulfate is insoluble. Lead 2 sulfate is insoluble. Plumbum 2 sulfate tak terlarutkan. Plumbum 2 chlorida tak terlarutkan. Is insoluble. Yeah, nitrate is the only soluble one in our syllabus. Yes. That's good. Okay, come. Let's continue then. So, ini adalah activity untuk menyediakan garam to prepare soluble salt through titration. Let me clarify something. So, neutralization, apakah perbezaan antara peneutralan dengan pentitratan? What is the difference between neutralization and titration? Neutralization, peneutralan ini ialah neutralization is the reaction, tindak balas dia. Peneutralan. Okay. Titration is the practical. Apa yang kita lakukan dalam makmal itu adalah pentitratan. The thing that we do in the lab, that practical is the titration. Understand or not? Okay. So melalui kaedah pentitratan, through the method of titration, we are carrying out the process of neutralization. Kita menjalankan proses peneutralan. Understand? Okay. So neutralization. How? Let's look at the apparatus setup first. By the way, guys, cikgu selalu suruh pelajar lukis. I always ask my students to draw. Why? Peperiksaan dia suruh lukis. Exam, they can ask you to draw. Do you know that biology SPM dia sudah suruh lukis susunan radas? They ask to draw, Bukan yang senang-senang, That one they ask to draw yang makanan, the food one. Chapter 9, bab 9 untuk bio. Okay? So, they will ask you to draw. Okay, so you have to learn how to draw. Number 2, bila awak lukis, once you draw, it will help you to remember the setup. Kalau awak boleh ingat susunan radas, senang untuk tulis procedure. If you can remember the apparatus setup, is very easy to write the procedure. Okay, always draw. Dalam nota cikgu memang tak boleh escape lah. You cannot escape. Definitely will have kosong here yang awak kena lukis. Okay, come. So, how? What's the first step? So, langkah pertama, you remember what we do first or not? Titration, pentitratan. So, look at the procedure, guys. Tengok procedure, we follow the procedure and then kita lukis. So, again, dalam kimia, procedure bukan saja keluar dalam amali. For chemistry, procedure doesn't just come out in amali, it also comes out, dia juga keluar dalam kertas 2 bahagian C, paper 2 section C. It also comes out in paper 2 section C. Okay. Jadi, you have to make sure you know how to write. Kena tahu tulis procedure dia. Alright? Okay. Now, number 1, look at the first one. Langkah pertama ialah we rinse the pipette. Kita bilas pipette 25 cm cube, a 25 cm cube pipette. So do you know what a 25 cm cube pipette is? Tahu tak apa ni? Now the modern pipettes are a little bit different, tapi this pipette is like this. Pernah nampak tak? Have you all used before? Pernah guna tak? So dia akan ada satu tanda di sini. It will have a mark here. Just one mark only. Satu tanda saja. Right? Okay, good. So this one, yang ini pipette ini, kita hanya boleh ukur 25 cm cube. If it's a 25 cm cube pipette, we can only measure 25 cm cube, but it will be more accurate. Bacaan dia, pengukuran kita lebih jitu berbanding dengan silinder penyukat. Compared to measuring cylinder, this will be more accurate measurement. Pipette. Okay, so this is a 25 cm cube pipette. Pipette 25 cm cube. Can? Okay. So we are going to first rinse. Kita akan bilas dengan what? Bukan dengan air tau, not with water. Kita bilas dengan kalium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide. Dan apa yang kita akan ukur, apa yang kita sukat dengan ini? What do we measure with the pipette? Kita akan sukat. We are going to pipette. Look at the step 2. Tengok langkah 2. Tengok langkah 2. Kita akan pipette 25 cm cube. Kalium hydroxide, potassium hydroxide. So kita bilas dengan apa yang kita akan sukat. We are going to rinse it with what we are measuring. So daripada 6.7, those of you who finish your 6.7, siapa yang sudah habis 6.7, do you remember why? Faham? Ingat tak kenapa? Kenapa kita bilas dengan larutan yang kita nak sukat? Why are we rinsing with the solution that we want to measure? Why not water? Kenapa bukan air suling? Why not distilled water? Why not distilled water? To achieve accurate... Okay, good. How? Why? How is it more accurate? Kenapa dia lebih accurate? Kenapa kejituan dia lebih tinggi? Why? Prevent reaction? No. Good thinking, but no. No, it doesn't react. Okay. See, Here, we don't want excess distilled water in the pipette. Close. Okay. Yes, nanti kena diluted. Very good. Okay, you see, when we do titration, bila kita buat pentitratan, here the problem is kita akan guna what? We are going to use, let's say contohnya kalium hydroxide. We are using potassium hydroxide and hydrochloric acid hydrochloric. Okay, let's do the theory here at the side. Buat theory dulu. So now we are doing HCl dengan KOH. Okay, so HCl memang aqueous lah. It's an acid, right? Aqueous. Kalium hydroxide aqueous. Okay, because ini adalah garam nak. It's a sap salt, what? Right? It's a sap salt. Ini adalah garam nak. So memang larutan aqueous solution. Because we don't have anything that is insoluble in water. Kita tak ada bahan yang tak terlarutkan dalam air. Do you understand? Because it's kalium. Kalium atau natrium memang tak boleh. Cannot. Ammonium also same thing. We cannot find anything yang tak larut dalam air. Right? Kalau kita tak boleh jumpa apa-apa yang tak larut dalam air, if you cannot find something that is insoluble in water, okay, remember, in the end, pada hujungnya kita nak, what do we want? Okay, what are we trying to make here? Di sini kita buat apa? The metal will replace the hydrogen, right? Yes, very good. Potassium chloride, kalium chloride, very good. So this is aqueous, isn't it? Because garam nak. It's a sap salt and water. Okay. Everything also aqueous. Semua pun aqueous. So again, practically, kalau kita campur saja, if you just mix it without doing titration, tanpa pentitratan, kita mula dengan, if we don't use titration, kalau kita tak guna pentitratan, If you just use, let's say kita ada acid di sini, then you just add lah, kita tambah lah. You add the KOH, kita tambah KOH. Okay? How do we know semua sudah bertindak balas? How you know everything react already? Impossible, isn't it? Impossible. Ini larutan tak berwarna. It's a colorless solution. Ini larutan tak berwarna. Colorless solution. Ini larutan tak berwarna. Colorless solution. Ini tak berwarna. Color. How do you know? You see the problem not? Nampak tak masalah dia? You will never know. You will never know. So kita tak tahu bila semua sudah habis bertindak balas. You have to remember, at the end of the day, okay, nanti hujung aktiviti ini, kita nak kalium klorida tulen. You want pure potassium chloride. Kita tak nak dia sudah bercampur dengan kalium hydroksida ataupun acid. We don't want it to be mixed with acid or potassium hydroxide. We don't want. We don't want. We want pure salt. How? Impossible. Macam mana kita tahu? So, kita mula dengan acid. You started with acid. Let's say we start with acid. Okay. So, kita tambah kalium hydroksida. Sedikit demi sedikit. You add it slowly lah, little by little. How do you know when the acid finish? Right? Lagi satu, walaupun asid sudah habis dan kalium hydroksida ini berlebihan, even though the acid finish and the potassium hydroxide is in excess, how to separate? Macam mana kita akan asingkan dia? Sebab dia larutan aqueous solution what? How to separate? You see the problem not? Nampak tak masalah dia? Nampak tak masalah dia? Okay? So what is the solution? Apa penyelesaian dia? The solution is, kita kena kira betul-betul dulu. You have to calculate first accurately, okay, berapa banyak acid yang akan bertindak balas lengkap. How much of acid will react completely with potassium hydroxide without any excess, tanpa lebihan. Do you understand? Faham tak? Kita kena kira dulu betul-betul berapakah acid dan alkali yang akan bertindak balas dengan lengkap. Wait, that one later. That one later. You have to understand this story first. Faham tak? Because there's no way for us to tell yang mana berlebihan. Okay? Dan kalau dia sudah berlebihan, kita tak boleh asingkan dia. Understand or not? Faham? Okay. So very good. Got a few suggestions here. Guna penunjuk. Very good. Very good. So, bila kita guna penunjuk, let's say here I use, okay, biasanya kelas, normally what we do is, biasanya dalam makmal kita nak guna phenolphthalein. Normally in the lab we want to use phenolphthalein because of the suitable pH range. Nilai julat pH yang sesuai lah untuk peneutralan. So normally kita memang pakai phenolphthalein. So that means di sini kita kena guna alkali. Why we have to use alkali, I will teach you later. I don't want you to get distracted now. Okay, fokus tentang benda ni. So if we use potassium hydroxide dan kita tambah phenolphthalein, okay, awalnya warna apa? In the beginning will be what color? In the beginning is alkali, isn't it? Awalnya alkali kan? Right? So what color is it? Pink lah. Pink lah. Awalnya dia merah jambu. In the beginning is pink. Because alkali. Because alkali, right? Okay. Then, apabila kita tambah acid, when we add the acid, when it's neutralized already, bila dia sudah neutral, when it's neutralized already, explain again. Okay, see here. Let's say we start with kita dalam beaker kita letak kalium hydroksida dulu. You put the potassium hydroxide first, one of the reactants lah, kalium hydroksida. Kita letak di sini dulu, right? Then kita tambah phenolphthalein. You add phenolphthalein, right? So sekarang ada alkali saja. We only have the alkali, isn't it? We only have the alkali. Apa warna dia? Phenolphthalein, alkali, warna dia ialah phenolphthalein, alkali color will be pink, isn't it? Merah jambu kan? So pada masa ini dia merah jambu lah. At this time is pink lah. Understand? Merah jambu sebab dia alkali. Kan? Okay. Then kita mula tambah acid. Now you start adding the acid. Okay. So asalkan masih ada kalium hydroxide. As long as still got potassium hydroxide, asalkan kalium hydroxide berlebihan. As long as potassium hydroxide is in excess, dia masih lagi merah jambu. It'll still be pink. Correct? Clear? Okay? Okay. Tapi, bila kalium hydroxide sudah diguna habis, when the potassium hydroxide is used up, diguna habis, that means semua sudah jadi garam. What's the color? What's the color? Dia akan bertukar menjadi tak berwarna, very good, colorless. Okay, sekarang dia akan berubah menjadi tak berwarna, colorless. Colorless. Okay. Alright, now become colorless. The problem is, masalahnya ialah, okay, bila kita tambah kalium hydroxide, satu titis itu ada berapa unit formula? One drop got how many formula units of potassium hydroxide? Is it satu titis, satu unit formula? One drop only got one potassium ion, one hydroxide ion, is it? No. Banyak kan? Still got a lot. Right? But the best we can manage is one drop. Okay? Paling dekat kita boleh dapat ialah satu titis. Lebih daripada itu tak boleh. Mustahil. We are limited. Right? We are limited. But if you want to go until one drop accuracy, sampai kejituan satu titis, until one drop accuracy, right? Then we have to do titration. Sebab itulah kita guna pentitratan. That's why we use titration lah. Understand or not? Faham tak? If you just pour like normal, kalau kita tuang macam biasa, impossible you get until one drop accuracy. Kita akan tambah lebih. That's why kita tak boleh just campur macam tu. Cannot. Kita tuang perlahan-lahan pun tak boleh. Cannot. It's not as good as one drop, satu titis. Kalau kita nak kejituan satu titis, you want one drop accuracy, you have to use titration, pentitratan. Dropper also cannot, because you have to know when you go close, and then you don't know what is the volume that you're using if you add by dropper, right? Right? If you use dropper also, you don't know what volume. With the burette, you know exactly. Kita tahu berapa isi padu yang kita tambah. Okay? Is it possible for colorless solution turn back to... Yes, you just add more alkali, it'll be turn pink again. Okay. Okay. So, listen carefully. We have another problem here. Right? Okay. We have another problem here. Yes. Yes. Macam buat air tambah-tambah. But the problem sekarang ialah tak boleh ada lebihan. Cannot have excess. That's the problem. Sebab itu kita tak boleh campur saja, kan? Right? Okay. So now, we have another problem. Kalau kita guna, let's say lah, kita guna penunjuk. We use indicator phenolphthalein. Okay. So, pada hujung aktiviti ini, at the end of the activity, do we have the pure salt? Ada tak garam tulen? Now we have another problem. Okay lah, mungkin kita ada sedikit asid lebihan. Okay, sini asid sorry. This is acid. Kita tambah asid sekarang. We are adding the acid now. So there will be a little bit of H+, there will be H chloride. Okay. Ada sedikit asid lagi. Just one drop excess. Okay lah, manageable, boleh lah. But we have another problem. Right? Apa masalahnya? Sekarang bukan saja ada asid yang bercampur dengan garam ini. Not only we have some acid mixed with the salt. Right? We have something else. Apa dia? Apa dia? What else is there yang kita tak nak? What else is there that we don't want? Sekarang ada, bukan alkali. Alkali sudah habis. Yes, very good. Alkali sudah habis. Acid ada sedikit. Yes, now we have the phenolphthalein. Kita ada penunjuk juga dekat sana. We have the indicator as the impurity. Very good. Yes. Faham tak? Now we have another impurity. Kita nak kalium chloride tulen. You want pure potassium chloride. When you use sodium chloride in cooking, bila kita masak dengan natrium chloride, is it okay to have some phenolphthalein? Awak makan ke? Cannot. Dia kena tulen pure. So, this is the basis for our experiment. Very good. Yes. Yes. Yes, very good. Inilah asas untuk aktiviti kita. This activity, what we are going to do is, okay, kita akan buat pentitratan dulu. First, we will do titration just to find out, untuk dapatkan isi padu acid yang kita perlukan. To find out the volume of acid that we need for the complete reaction, untuk tindak balas lengkap. Faham tak? Right? So first kita tambah penunjuk lah. You add the indicator, then you do lah the titration. Lepas kita sudah tahu berapa isi padu yang kita perlukan, after you know exactly how much volume, then ulang sekali lagi, repeat the titration again, tapi tanpa penunjuk, without the indicator. Faham? Understand? That is the process. Itulah proses dia. Supaya garam yang kita hasilkan tanpa penunjuk, garam tulen. It's a pure salt. It's a pure salt. Understand? I can summarize. Okay, you see So sekarang, walaupun kita buat pentitratan, so you already understand why we cannot use there's no solid, tak ada pepejal di sini. Right? So kita tak tahu yang mana berlebihan. We don't know which is in excess. We cannot know. Kita tak boleh tahu yang mana berlebihan. So kita kena juga guna penunjuk. You have to use indicator. That part you all clear? Jelas tak? Bahagian itu jelas? Kalium hydroxide dan HCl ini bukan pepejal yang tak terlarutkan. Right? Okay. So, no way to know which is in excess. So, kita kena guna penunjuk juga. So that we know bila dia neutral. Right? Okay. Very good. Now, we got extra problem. I only want potassium chloride. Kalium klorida tulen saja. Problem is, kita sudah tambah penunjuk. Now, the indicator is an impurity. Nampak tak? Garam ini akan bercampur dengan penunjuk. The indicator is not going anywhere, but indicator still there. Acid sudah tak ada, alkali sudah tak ada, okay fine. But now got indicator. Cannot. Understand? So in the beginning, bila kita guna penunjuk, so that's why what we are going to do is, at the very first step, okay, kita sudah tetapkan isi padu alkali yang kita gunakan. Can you see in the beginning we already fixed we are going to use exactly, kita akan guna tepat-tepat 25 cm3 kalium hydroxide. Faham tak? Understand or not? We already fixed we are going to use potassium hydroxide exactly 25 cm3. Okay? Alright. Then since we already fixed this, kita sudah tetapkan yang ini. So now we are not going to use this anymore. Kita akan guna kelalang kon lah. Titration you have to use conical flask. So inside the conical flask, dalam kelalang kon, inside the conical flask, we already put 25 cm3, 25 cm3, KOH. Kepekatan pun sudah ditetapkan, 2.0 mol per dm cube. Okay. So we have a very specific number of moles of potassium hydroxide. Bilangan mol kalium hydroxida yang sangat spesifik di sini. Understand? Kita sudah tetapkan berapa banyak alkali yang nak bertindak balas. Okay. Now our job is, kita kena cari berapakah isi padu acid. What volume of acid do we need to fully react with this, untuk bertindak balas secara lengkap dengan semua kalium hydroxida dalam larutan ini, with all the potassium hydroxide in the solution. We don't want anything left. Faham tak? Akhirnya, apa yang kita nak, eventually, in the end, what we want, in the conical flask, eventually, dalam kelalang kon ini, akhirnya kita hanya nak, you only want KCl. Kita tak nak apa-apa benda lain, nothing else. You only want potassium chloride. Understand? Right? So, kita kena cari how much acid kita kena tambah supaya semua alkali habis dan juga tak ada acid berlebihan. No excess acid. So, you do the titration lah. Okay. So, we do the titration. Okay. So, kita buat pentitratan. So, you do the titration. Dapatlah isi padu acid. Get the volume of acid. Get the volume of acid daripada pentitratan. So, di sini pentitratan, macam mana kita tahu dia sudah habis? There is no other way. Kena juga tambah penunjuk. You have to add the phenolphthalein. Kena juga tambah penunjuk. No choice what? Right? Okay? Kalau tak, memang kita tak tahu. We don't know what's going on. We're doing the experiment. Basically, we can't do anything. Okay? But now the problem is, the first time, sini akan ada penunjuk lagi. Bukan kalium chloride saja. Not just potassium chloride. We will still have some indicator. But the thing is, bila kita buat dengan penunjuk, kita sudah tentukan, we already determined we need X cm cube. Ini kita sudah tentukan. We already settle already. Faham tak? Yes. Faham tak? So now, macam mana kita hasilkan kalium klorida saja tanpa penunjuk, without the indicator? How? Now you do another round lah. Now you do another round. Kita buat satu lagi round pentitratan. Tapi sekarang, kita hanya guna tepat-tepat X cm cube. You use exactly X cm cube of acid. Alkali sama. 25 cm cube of alkali and X cm cube of acid. Exactly X cm cube of acid. So in the end, kita dapat sekarang tanpa penunjuk. So in the end, what do we get? Garam saja. Yes. Yes. Boleh. Can. Alright. So this is how we prepare soluble sap salt. Garam terlarutkan nak. Faham konsep dia? Okay. So here, let me ask you one question. Yang ini boleh tak kita buat dengan garam terlarutkan bukan nak? Can we do this with with soluble non-sap salts? Let's say, let me give you example. Contohnya, contoh tadi magnesium chlorida. Can or not? Can or not? Yes, that's right. That's exactly right. Can we use titration for this? Boleh tak? Can or not? Okay. Good, Good. Good. Boleh. Boleh. Can. Okay. Maybe magnesium chloride is not let me see. Let's say uh, let me see. Okay. Let's say we have no, magnesium hydroxide is slightly soluble lah. Magnesium hydroxide is a bit difficult. Okay lah. Let me put it this way. Boleh tak kita guna untuk logam untuk garam nak yang tak terlarutkan, yang bukan garam nak, the non-sap soluble salts, can we use or not? Can. If you have an alkali, kalau dia membentuk alkali yang membentuk larutan aqueous lah, that means aqueous solution. Kalau dia ada alkali, can. Can. The problem is, not the problem lah. The thing is, okay, kenapa kita nak buat kaedah yang susah macam ini? It's very troublesome, isn't it? It's very troublesome, isn't it? Berbanding dengan compared to kaedah ini, compared to this method, okay? Kaedah ini very simple. Kita guna beaker saja. You just add the solid, tambah pepejal sehingga berlebihan until excess. Lepas tu turaskan dia. Finish. End of story. Right? Kenapa kalau awak boleh guna kaedah ini? Yes. If you can use this method, why you want to do titration? Tahu tak betapa susahnya pentitratan? Betapa payahnya pentitratan. How irritating it is, you know. You have to do titration, tak boleh buat satu kali tau. You cannot do titration one time. You have to do titration one time, you have to repeat another 3 times, ulang lagi 3 kali. Yang pertama itu tak kira, the first title we don't count. The 3 times you repeat 3 times tadi, 3 kali ini kena dapat purata dia, you have to get the average, and then you have to buat lagi sekali tanpa phenolphthalein, you have to do 4 times. Payah kan? If you have the first way, kalau kita boleh sekadar tambah pepejal saja, why you want to do titration? Faham? So it's not that tak boleh. It's just that memang takkan ada orang yang buat. Understand or not? Faham tak? Okay. Kalau logam yang kalau garam yang lain, kalau logam dia boleh membentuk alkali, you can use titration. Anything with alkali you can use titration. But no point lah. Faham tak? Understand or not? No point. That's why kita hanya reserve kaedah ini untuk garam nak, only for the sap salts, because tak ada pilihan. There's no choice. Faham tak? There is no choice. Memang kita tak boleh guna cari yang senang. Baru last resort kita pakai yang ini. Kan? Boleh? Okay? Is it possible this experiment keluar during amali Cikgu tak boleh kata tak. I cannot say it cannot come out because it's in your syllabus. Dalam syllabus maksudnya boleh keluar. Simple as that. I hope it doesn't come out because dia akan ambil masa yang sangat lama. Ah, yes, that's right. That's right. Correct. So dalam syllabus kita, in our syllabus, you treat it as cannot. Kita ambil sebagai tak boleh. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Berdasarkan logik itu, yes. Tapi dia boleh ubah suai dia lah. Supaya awak boleh lakukan dia. Supaya awak boleh habiskan dia dengan cepat. They can modify it so that you finish it quickly. Okay. And anyway, normally activity takkan keluar lah. Normally, I can only say normally. Cikgu tak boleh jamin apa-apa. I cannot guarantee anything. Normally, activity is not going to come out in your amali. Experiment will come out. Ada beza dia. Activity yang tak ada hypothesis. No hypothesis, no variables. Tak ada pun boleh ubah. Itu activity. Okay, biasanya yang tu kalau ikutkan dia takkan keluar lah. But again, cikgu tak boleh jamin apa-apa. They can decide to modify it into an experiment. Boleh juga. Boleh jadi juga. Boleh jadi juga. Yes, bahagian C boleh. Bahagian C boleh. Section C activity definitely can come out. Memang akan keluar pun. It will come out. Just that untuk amali-amali unlikely lah untuk activity. Unlikely. Okay. Okay, faham. So that's the difference lah. Itulah bezanya antara garam nak dan garam bukan nak yang terlarutkan. Soluble sap and non-sap salts. Kan? Okay. Alright guys. Sudah lebih masa. We will stop here for today. Kita berhenti di sini untuk hari ini.